If you could ask the greatest fly anglers in the world, what are the five go-to confidence patterns, do you think they would all agree? And some people might hate me when you hear about one of these top flies because there's always a ton of controversy around this fly, and this pattern has even been banned in some situations around the country. If you stick around until the end on this one, you are going to find out which fly changed everything in fly fishing and is still the top number one fly for success, and also that number one most controversial fly pattern. Tim Camisa was on the Wet Fly Swing podcast in episode 717. That's 717. There's a link below, and did all this great work. He actually interviewed all these amazing anglers from around the world. He interviewed them. He summarized this list. And today we're going to give 5 of the top flies that come from this book. And we're going to talk about this book as we go. But before we get into it, I wanted to announce the winner from last week's video. I want to congratulate this one person for leaving a comment. Nathan Ford, congrats. If you're out there, you're listening, Nathan, you can send me an email, dave@wetflyswing.com, and we'll get you access to Wet Fly Swing Pro. This is our amazing group where we're building trips together, connecting with people, and awesome, great success stories around the country. If you want to get a chance to win Wet Fly Swing Pro this week, just leave a comment. Really easy. Just leave a comment here, and you can also, of course, subscribe and like as we go. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. The top 5 flies from Tim Camisa. This comes from Tying Euro Nymphs. Tim Camisa. Let's get into it. All right, number 5, the Rockerk fly pattern. This one's amazing. Tim talks about this one, and this is a CDC style pattern. So a little bit of the history. Lubos Rosa, a world champion fly angler, is the person who basically came up with this concept. We've noted it. Tim noted it that Pete Erickson, many people around the country have this as their number one. It was originally developed in European nymphing, and it's key because it's highly floatable and durable, right? So it's a high floating fly and durable. Tim talks about this, how you want that fly to kind of sink into the surface a little bit, right? So it's like a soggy diaper. But the cool thing is, because it's CDC, these feathers are naturally buoyant, and the thin body, the thin profile makes this perfect for technical, slow-moving water. Bonus tips here for this fly: use light tip at 6x. 7x is key. It's going to allow you to get better presentation. You can also skate or twitch the fly slightly. This can trigger aggressive strikes, especially for selective trout. And you can do some other pairing this with tungsten nymphs and things that they're lighter under this fly, right? So you can actually see those takes. So you got this dry dropper. It's perfect. You got this fly on the dry, and then the dropper is some little tiny nymph. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Number 4, the jig bugger. Tim talks about this. It's basically a jig style woolly bugger, right? And what is the greatest fly? The woolly bugger. I think it's been talked about from history. So a little bit of the history on the woolly bugger. It was created by Russell Blessing in 1967, a variation of the woolly worm. So again, I remember the woolly worm. I'm old enough to remember that fly. You don't see it as much. The difference is the woolly worm doesn't have a long tail. The woolly bugger has that big marabou tail. And for this one, the jig versions have gained popularity again with European nymphing competitions. There's better control. It reduces snagging because of the fly that turned up high, and known as the poor man's articulated streamer, right? So that's kind of what the marabou is. Fishing tip: use a dead drift first and then jig and strip again. So try dead drifting it, and then you can always jig and strip as you go. Choose bead sizes based on depth. So 3 millimeters are good for shallow runs, 5 millimeter plus for deeper pools. And you can match the color to the water conditions, right? So black and dark water, white and clear water, all for all around use. All right, before we get into the next ones, I wanted to just remind you, follow the show if you can right now. If you're loving this content, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you get notified when the next one comes live. And these are going to be coming live every week if we can. If it fits our schedule. So like right now, and you will get that next one delivered right to you and a reminder. All right, here we go. We're going to kick this second half off with a power blast here. We've got number 3, which is the squirmy worm pattern. So this is the controversial one. This is our number 3 controversial pattern. The squirmy worms. A lot of people talk about these like, is this really okay to use? And so the squirmy worm was invented by David Heiss after discovering a glow-in-the-dark rubber material at the craft store. So there it is. David Heiss invented this, and it has been banned in some competitions for catching too many fish. And we'll put some information there on that. So literally, they haven't allowed the squirmy in some areas, but this is a well-known pattern, competition anglers love this pattern. It works, and that's because of the fishing tips I'm going to show you right here. Is key is after a rainstorm, if you get into some of these high events and the water can flush out into the, the surrounding areas, into the floodplain, this is where it's washing all those worms into the water, right? So they're off and they're on the side. Now they're floating down the river. So you want to fish right up against the banks if you can. Try bright colors, pink, red, chartreuse in stained waters, and natural colors, brown, tan, and clear water. So again, when it gets really kind of stained and tannin, you could use those brighter colors. And this one, again, fish at dead drift under an indicator or tight line nymph for best results. So under an indicator or tight line nymphing. So there you go. So this is the squirmy worm. There's other ones, the San Juan worm. There's a bunch of worms, but we're going to leave that there. Number 2, the pheasant tail. We had to have at least one classic. And when you talk to people, the best of the best, they always have a pheasant tail or some form of the pheasant tail. The pheasant tail, on the history, Frank Sawyer invented this in 1950 in the English chalk streams. This was back when nymphs were kind of, again, poo-pooed upon a little bit because of, it wasn't dry fly fishing, right? But Frank Sawyer had this nymph. He created it. And originally it was just the pheasant tail fibers and a little copper wire. But it's evolved into some of these really simple fly patterns, right? These Euro style patterns. And Pat uses a bleached ginger pheasant tail, and this creates a natural light to dark gradient. Fishing tip: the fly mimics mayflies, caddisflies, small nymphs. It's a true all-around pattern. It works dead drift or swung in the current, so you could even swing this guy. So there you go. So dead drift or swing it. All right, here we go. Drum roll, please. The number one fly. Here it is. This is the one that changed the game. This is the one that when it came into play, it broke all the rules in competition fishing. And now, if you don't have a Perdigon in your box, you're missing out. So again, number 1 is the Perdigon nymph. The Perdigon, and the history here is originally, it was originated in Spain. The Perdigon means the pellet, referencing how quickly the fly sinks, right? So Perdigon pellet. It's developed for fast-moving waters where getting the fly down quickly is key. So this is the idea here, is that this thing sinks quickly, and it was popularized in European competitions angling before widely used in the U.S. So, folks like Devin Olson, Lance, and others, this fly came back, and now there's variations of this fly, but essentially you could see it. It's a very streamlined. It drops down quick. The fishing tip: use smaller sizes, 18s and 22s for with heavier beads to get it down. So you can go super small, maybe use a little bit heavier bead. It works well in high gradient water, but it can also be deadly in slow water paired with a slow sinking fly. So again, a good all-arounder. It's going to work in the fast stuff, but also in the slower stuff. If you pair it with a mop fly or an egg pattern on a windy day, this can help keep it from rising to the column. So there you go. So you can pair it with a couple of different things and mix it up. So there you go. That's it. The number 1, and just to circle back around at these 5. So number 5, the Rockerk pattern, the CDC. We got the Jig Bugger Classic. We've got the worm, the Squirmy Wormy. We've got the pheasant tail. And the Perdigon. This list, as you see it cannot get any better than this list right here. This is, of course, we're talking nymphs here. We're not talking dry flies, but as far as nymphs, and that's what Tim's book is all about, is Euro nymphs. With a little mix of some other ones. This is the selection. If you want to listen to the full episode, you can go right now, episode 717, the Wet Fly Swing podcast. We'll have a link down in the notes here. Tim goes into all these 5 and more on that episode. And then if you want to take it even further, you can get Tim's book, and the book that these all come from right now, step by step for tying these flies. So now you can actually take it and tie these. If you're into fly tying, that's one way you can do it. I just want to thank you for stopping in today. Again, if you want to get access to Wet Fly Swing Pro, just leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel, and we'll get you updated on the next one. We're going to be doing some great stuff coming this year. Appreciate you for stopping in today. We'll see you on that next one. Talk to you soon.